Hello, and welcome to the Supply Knowledge Strategic Sourcing Program. This course will cover the fundamentals of the Request for Proposal, the RFP, an extremely important and valuable tool in the acquisition of services. The key objective of this course is to help you understand the function and elements of an RFP. In doing so, you will examine the RFP process, including identifying stakeholder requirements and how to build them into an effective solicitation. You'll also explore a method for evaluating supplier responses, the RFP scorecard, and how it can be used effectively to select the appropriate supplier. And finally, you'll learn the function of the service level agreement and how it's used in monitoring supplier performance. This course will demonstrate a number of concepts: how to initiate and manage the RFP process, identifying critical stakeholder requirements, building an effective RFP, evaluating RFP responses, using the RFP scorecard to select the supplier, and outlining a service level agreement. This course contains materials covering a number of topics: contracts and solicitations, for one, types of contracts that use the RFP process, the RFX, so called to designate various types of requests, such as RFIs, requests for information, and RFQs, requests for quotation. Then we'll go over the RFP functions themselves, the objectives of the RFP, what elements are included, the requirements section, how to handle attachments, and a quick method to use for proposal evaluation. There are many ways and methods to solicit proposals. The type of solicitation we use typically depends on what it is we want to acquire and what type of contract we'll be using. So let's begin this lesson by looking at contracts and the types of solicitations available for us to use. As you probably know, a contract is a legally enforceable agreement that creates a binding obligation between two or more parties. Contracts are generally established to allocate the responsibilities between the contracting parties and thus reduce and mitigate risk. In doing so, contracts also enable the parties to establish how they will allocate their resources to fulfill their obligations and what they can expect in return for the effort. There are a number of contract types, including purchase orders, which are offers to buy, the agreement for services, a contract type used primarily for services where the Uniform Commercial Code does not apply, supply agreements, which take many forms but are considered master agreements where the terms and conditions cover many releases, a lease in its various forms, and contracts for product development, formal partnerships, and joint ventures. Of course, contracts can be named almost anything as long as they include the elements that make them legally enforceable, and they can be written or verbal. To learn more about contracts, please refer to our course on contract formation. We generally refer to the process of obtaining quotations and proposals as the solicitation. The solicitation process employs three basic formats. The request for information, the RFI, asks for specifics about the company being considered, and is often used as a filtering mechanism to pre-qualify suppliers for bids or proposals or eliminate suppliers that are clearly not capable of meeting the organization's requirements. Today, much of this information is available publicly using the Internet, so we seldom find a formal RFI being used. The request for proposal, the RFP, is used to solicit supplier proposals on how to meet the demands of a particular situation. Used primarily for services, the RFP seeks to elicit a detailed approach to the work at hand. This approach typically gets documented in the form of a statement of work. And the request for quotation, the RFQ. It's used when a detailed statement of work, or in the case of a product, the specification, already exists. Its primary function becomes that of determining the pricing and terms and conditions that the seller is willing to provide. In some cases, the quotation, or bid, forms the basis for the agreement. In other cases, it becomes the basis for further negotiation. An RFQ can be used for both products as well as services, as long as the requirements are known. If you examine the entire acquisition process, as abbreviated in this chart, you can see just where the solicitation phase fits. The requirements phase establishes and defines the user's needs. Pre-qualification is the market research phase where suppliers are identified and trends in the marketplace are examined. Then following the solicitation phase is the supplier evaluation and selection process, contract negotiation, and contract formation. The actual ordering and receiving of the goods or services, and the ongoing management of the supplier and the contract, including contract closeout and surplus disposal in the case of goods. We hope you found this course of value. Thanks for participating, and we're looking forward to joining you in our other courses. If you have comments and questions, they're always welcome. You can email us at this address.